Hey y'all, it's me, Jerisha, with the Learning Curve podcast, and I am back capitalizing on my energy boost today. If you saw my last podcast, so I thought I'd come on here and do a podcast that I have been thinking about doing for the past couple of months about something that happened to me recently that really has been sitting with me. Definitely went through the paces in this situation and debated about coming on the podcast to talk about it, but I felt like I had done the grieving work that I needed to do and the healing work that I needed to do to be able to talk about it. And I thought that my experience could be helpful to other people who may be going through something similar. So let's get right on to it. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the Learning Curve podcast. And today we are going to talk about hard lessons that can shape us, and then the healing that follows from that lesson, and the truth that growth is not always linear and it's not always painless. Again, I'm your host, Jerisha, and this is a really personal episode today. Hang in there with me. What I want to talk about is when someone tells you, either directly or indirectly, that they no longer want to put effort into maintaining a friendship with you. Right? That stings, doesn't it? Just listening to it makes you kind of uncomfortable. Well, whether they say it out loud or they show you through distance, silence, or avoidance, the message is clear. I'm no longer invested in this connection anymore. And if you've ever experienced that, you know the emotional storm that it brings: hurt, betrayal, confusion, and sometimes a deep gnawing sense of self-doubt. So let me give you some backstory, because this is a personal experience that happened to me a couple of months ago. Someone that I had been a friend to and thought was a friend to me for probably close to about 7 years told me one day over Zoom that they had decided that where they were in their life, they no longer wanted to put effort into maintaining a friendship with me. And of course, you can imagine that kind of blindsided me. Was not expecting that in the invitation to have this Zoom call. Was actually expecting to catch up, do a little kiki, maybe plan to get together. So this came out of nowhere to me. And it shocked me so much that I really couldn't say much in the moment because it was just so unexpected. So, I put my therapist hat on, friendly and positive, said, okay, that's where you are. Enjoyed the time we had together. Take care. And kind of went on about, my day. Thought it was odd, but kind of put it on the shelf because I had other things to do. I was still working during the day, so I had clients to see, so I didn't really have time to ponder it. Until a good girlfriend of mine let me know that that person had had the exact same conversation with them and had shared that they no longer wanted to put effort into maintaining a friendship with them either. That's when I kind of got in my feelings a little bit, because it kind of felt like, oh, okay, were we on an agenda, the cutoff agenda for the day? Let me schedule these people back to back to cut them off. It kind of felt very callous. It felt very cold. It felt very sterile. And I was just so shocked and surprised because that person never had shown up that way for me or in my life. So you can imagine, as I began to kind of reflect on the friendship and kind of what had been going on that might have motivated this person to make this decision, I felt used. I felt like my presence, my time, the care that I showed were perhaps just convenient for that person when they needed something, or they were in that space where it helped them or benefited them, but that I became disposable when their life changed, their circumstances changed, or their needs changed. I felt taken for granted. I felt like my loyalty and the consistent showing up that I had done for that person maybe were expected but never truly valued. And then afterwards, as I sat with it more and more, the phrase was going through my head over and over again. I started to feel like, what did I do? Was I too much? Did I do too much? Did I do something wrong and I wasn't aware of it? And this person was cutting me off because of that. And then finally, was the relationship even real over this almost 7 years? Or was I living in a parallel universe? Did the things that happened that I thought brought us closer, did those things really happen? Did that person think the same way about those things as I did? Man, I went down the spiral tunnel on this. And then the biggest thing is this person and I were in the same friend group. So the possibility of us having to exist in the same space was very real. And we shared mutual friends, and the likelihood that we would bump into each other at an event was very likely. So, what was I going to do when I saw this person again? Was I going to ignore them? Was I going to be fake and pretend that nothing happened? What if they wanted to talk to me? Would I honor this boundary that they have set? Or do I go along with it? I mean, remember, the pain is still very raw for me. I mean, this just happened. So I really was kind of struggling. And thanks to several good girlfriends, I was able to kind of talk a little bit about it. So why don't we talk about it? First, validate the pain. And thankfully, people who are in my life who do want to put the effort in maintaining relationships with me really validated the fact that this situation was kind of messed up. I was told that I wasn't weak, that I wasn't being dramatic because I was feeling so hurt. Having a relationship with someone, friendship, romantic relationship, familial relationship, it requires trust, vulnerability, and emotional investment. So when someone tells you that they're not willing to meet you halfway or are no longer willing to participate in this relationship, that's a big rejection. And it cuts really deep. And it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to miss them. It's okay to be angry at them. Two things can be true at the same time. I tell my clients that all the time. It's not just black and white. Two things can be true at the same time. So, did I miss this person? Was I confused? Was I hurt by what they did? Absolutely. Was I angry? Absolutely. And both of those things could exist in the same space. And I was valid in having both of those feelings. Second, let's address the self-doubt. Because listen, baby, in that whirlpool that I was in, I was picking myself apart. I was critically analyzing every conversation I had had with that person, as well as other people. I began to check in with others and be like, am I too much? Are you ever feeling like you don't want to be my friend anymore? I was second guessing myself like nobody's business. And I had to come to realize, and thankfully, again, good girlfriends in my life helped me see that this person's choice didn't automatically mean that I was a problem. People walk away for all kinds of reasons, some rooted in their own inability to show up, communicate, or grow. And that doesn't have anything to do with me. It's not a shortcoming of mine. Now what? Because that's all good and well. You know, think with your higher self about these things. You're able to be objective. You're able to kind of see both sides. But it still hurts. And I'm still mad. So what do I do? What would I do when I see this person? And actually, I did see the person. Well, back it up. Even before that, there was threat of seeing the person at another one of our mutual friends' birthday weekend. And so I excused myself from attendance because I knew, like literally it was the week after the cutoff had happened. I knew I was not in a place to be in the same space with that individual. There would be no way that I could play along and be nice, affirming, empowering, fake, and not say something about what had happened. And I did not want to spoil this person's birthday weekend. I didn't want to bring other people into my business. I just didn't want to make it about me. So I opted out of the weekend. And now that I think about it, I really regret that decision. I think I missed out on a great opportunity to bond with my girlfriends. And if I had a choice, I probably would do it differently. However, it was a choice I made. I'm sticking with it. And I knew where I was at that point. It was too soon. However, Recently, I did run into the person again. Again, we were friends. We had mutual interests. We both love music. So we both were at a concert up in Maryland together. And me and the person I went with were going to meet some friends of hers for dinner prior to the show. Walking to the restaurant, I'm looking around. Guess who I see sitting over in the corner? Let me tell you, heart stopped, dropped to my stomach for a second, and literally I was like, oh snap, what am I going to do? Then I put my big girl panties on, got myself together, went on in the restaurant, sat down, enjoyed my time with my friend and her friends, caught up, chatted, ordered some good food, enjoying my dinner when I hear a familiar voice by the table say, hey, strangers, what are you doing here? I knew who it was. Didn't even need to look up for my mac and cheese. I knew it was that person. And bless her heart, my friend that I went with, who was also the friend that got cut off, spoke, was very appropriate. Me, however, I did not. And some folks might be like, oh, you're being petty, or you're still upset, or, were you being rude? Or, well, I think sometimes we do things out of self-preservation. And for me, that was an act of self-preservation. I realized that I didn't owe that person conversation. I didn't owe them small talk. I didn't even owe them a smile or an attempt to keep the peace. But I also didn't need to carry bitterness in my body regarding them because I wasn't going to give them that power. I mean, they caught me with the okie doke with the whole cutoff. And believe me, I spent a couple weeks in that tailspin before I pulled myself out. And I wasn't going to give them any more power. So the real goal was to be neutral. Easier said than done, though, right? But hear me out. Neutrality means that I acknowledge you. I no longer carry the weight of what you did, but I also don't invite you back in. And that could look like a lot of things. A head nod, a polite hello, or for me, it was to just keep it moving and continue to enjoy my mac and cheese and not acknowledge the person. Now, what would have happened if that person had really just, pushed it to the limit and made a point of speaking to me, like called my name out where it was just completely obvious and awkward if I didn't say something? That's where my boundaries would need to come in. Because remember, this person already shared their boundaries with me when they cut me off and said they didn't want to put any effort in maintaining our friendship. That was a boundary. So if they were to have pushed my boundary, that's when I would be able to say something like, I appreciate you speaking, but I'm not in a place to really engage with you right now. Or if you're interested in talking about what happened between us, we can do that, but I'm not up for the small talk. I wouldn't be petty if I did that. I'm actually being clear. And clarity is kindness for both of us. I'm all about respecting people's boundaries, but I also want my boundaries respected. And one of the things that I had to struggle with initially was respecting the fact that this person had made this boundary because it really hurt. I mean, if you know me and you know who I'm talking about, it really hurt. And trying to force it, thankfully, I wasn't in that place where I was calling back and be like, why? What's happening? And I didn't do that. I accepted it. I also understood that I needed to get to a space of release and also a space where I chose to be peaceful within myself versus getting closure. Because I think that's what hurt me maybe the most. Not necessarily the cutoff, even though I'm still confused about that, but more so the fact that when this person invited me into a conversation, it really wasn't a conversation. It was a declaration or a proclamation on their part where they shared the decision they had come to about our relationship. So it wasn't a mutual conversation where we both came to that agreement together. It was them telling me what they had decided to do. So them coming to that point of being able to make that declaration meant that they had gone through their whole process, and had their closure. Having the conversation with me put the period at the end of their sentence. However, it left my sentence wide open, waiting for completion. And for a minute, I struggled with not having closure. And then I chose peace over closure. So this podcast episode is really about acknowledging that friendships that end can be hurtful. Friendships, romantic relationships, family relationships, any kind of relationship that you find supportive and important in your life, when it ends abruptly or unexpectedly, it's hurtful. But this is what I want you to remember moving forward. And this is what I remind myself when I get into those spaces where I begin to doubt myself again about the situation. I am not unworthy to be loved, to have friendship, to be cared for, to be respected, to have someone be loyal to me, to have someone being appreciative of my time, my space, my presence. So because this person chose to step away from me does not mean that there is a flaw in the way that I am showing up. I'm allowed to feel my feelings without shame. So was I hurt? Yes. Did I shed a tear? Yes. Was I angry? Yes. Disappointed? Yes. Confused? Yes. And still am. And just hurt. All of those could be just put in a big bucket of hurt, like literally and physically feeling aching about this situation. But that's okay. And I wasn't feeling ashamed for feeling that way. And I've been able to heal, which I struggled with as well. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get over this. But I feel like I have, to a point that it's now manageable. Because for about the first week, it was the only thing I could think about, only thing I could talk about. It is not like that anymore. And even though I've not received an apology, I haven't received any further acknowledgement from this individual about what they did and how it impacted me. That's okay. Because again, I've chosen peace over closure. I chose not to stay stuck in the pain. I chose myself. And I also chose to keep my heart open to the people in my life who are showing me that they want to put effort in maintaining a relationship with me. Because for a moment, I wanted to close up like a clamshell and be like, well, everybody must feel this way about me, then I'm just going to stick to myself. And thankfully, I didn't. And thankfully, the people in my life that I care so much about showed up for me and said, please don't do that. We care for you. What happened was messed up, but that's not a widely held belief about you. And that was so helpful in me being able to kind of move forward. Thank you so much for spending this quick little moment with me on the Learning Curve podcast, where I was able to kind of unpack something that I've been holding on for a while, but got to a point where I felt like I could share it. Hopefully something that I said in this episode spoke to something within you, maybe spoke to a situation that you have been in or you're going through. Maybe you're the person doing the cutting off. And if so, maybe hearing the impact of being the person who has been cut off may change your approach or change your delivery when you make adjustments to whatever relationship you're thinking about changing. And remember, even though sometimes these learning curves feel steep, you're still climbing. You're still moving forward. Keep doing that. Keep being who you are, and keep surrounding yourself with people who want to be around you, who recognize who you are, who appreciate that and see the value of having that in their life. Okay? Thank you for listening to me. Until the next time, I want you to enjoy your summer, pace yourself, and most importantly, take care of yourself.